Sometimes it's neat to look back on what wrestling was like in the territory days. As the rise of cable television was continuing to go upwards and upwards in the 80s, we got to see what the Omni in Atlanta was putting on. And thanks to WWE Vault Channel, we're getting to see more of these shows and proof that sometimes the action was great and the crowd was into it. And other times, it didn't always used to be better, folks. It didn't always used to be better. I'm John Renton with the retro review of the Omni in Atlanta from February 5th, 1984. Now, this is taking place just a few weeks before another one that they put up from February 26, 1984. And let's jump right on into it. A few neat little nuggets that I'll throw in here, but Jesse Barr against a guy named Johnny Rose. I don't actually know what the hell his name was. The audio was so... It wasn't great, and nevertheless, it was two guys with similar physiques, similar hair. They did a lot of the same moves. It was what it was. I've heard the name Jesse Barr. I believe he was Jimmy Jack Funk and I Don't Care. Yeah, a lot of side headlocks. And I understand this happened a lot on house shows, and then as stuff started getting more televised, they had to change stuff up, but still. Basically a roll through after attempted a big move, won it, and there you go. So that's it. I believe Johnny won it, if I remember right. La 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 la, I'm in love with Lonely Johnny, I believe as it was said. And then we had Brad Armstrong against, and they cut off the intro for his opponent. I think it was Les Thornton, based on the hair. I thought it might have been Greg Valentine, but then I realized, no, it's not Greg Valentine, not blonde, and also just Les Thornton was in pretty good shape. So assuming it was Les Thornton, this is for a championship. I think it was the junior heavyweight title. And I know it was Brad Armstrong because of the poofy hair and also the fact BA was on his boots. The crowd got more into this, and it did pick up towards the end. It wasn't bad. Brad was very good. Les wasn't a bad talent. It did end up going to a time limit draw with some near falls that worked and then some that were a little bit sloppy. It almost seemed like the referee should have counted for a shoot because, boy, oh boy, they didn't want to beat Brad, but they also didn't want to switch the title. So there you are. And then Ron Garvin with massive blonde hair taking on King Kong Bundy. Bundy, you big fat piece of shit. Good Lord, the Jim Cornette line, the Ernie Ladd impression of Ernie Ladd knocking King Kong Bundy. It's forever playing in my head. And King Kong Bundy, fresh off of, a run in Texas and doing the stuff that he's done, he's about to go to Vince Land. And the winner would get a national TV championship shot on February 11th. And I believe this is where Ron Garvin would face off against Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm trying to remember if they faced off on the February 26th one, but nevertheless, Bundy was a beast and Ron hit really goddamn hard and the crowd was into it. And also Paul Ellering came out. I thought it was a weird guy in golfing gear. Then I realized, no, Paul Ellering just wore really, really loud fits as they were. And Bundy decided, you know what, I'm tired of this wardrobe, and this guy has too much hair, so I'm going to go rip his hair off, and then he runs out, and Ron Garvin won. The crowd was into what was happening, and it was a little bit of a fluke finish, but Georgia was kind of struggling at this point. They were still drawing good crowds in the Omni, more or less, but things were starting to crumble, and then pretty soon, in like the summer of '84, Vince would take over as part of the WTBS, the WTBS acquisition because of the Briscoes. More on them here in a second. But then we get Jake the Snake Roberts with Paul Ellering against Jerry Briscoe. And it was a TV title match. And not bad. The TV title was on the line for, I believe, about the first 10 minutes, if I recall correctly. Good action. Jerry was about to retire. Him and Jack were about to go up to the WWF, and then Jack would have the famous story where he would fly in with Jerry and see all the snow and said, you know what, I've done enough, I'm going home. And I don't blame Jack. I mean, Jack has since passed away. I believe he passed away a number of years ago. But don't blame him. Longtime NWA champion, well-traveled veteran, had wrestled in multiple territories, wrestled in Florida in particular, was very, very over, was on the first Starrcade. He didn't want to stick around. You can't really necessarily blame him. And action was pretty good. It was mat-based for quite a bit. But who was the heel here is what I noted. And the reason I said that is because You think about it. The Briscoes took on Steamboat and Youngblood at Starrcade 83. That was a mere 10 weeks before this. And the Briscoes were heels. Now, Jake Snake Roberts, in his red warm-up pants, I don't know why he decided to wear those, but whatever. I guess he was the de facto heel. Jerry eventually went for Ellering, and then after the referee got shoved, that probably should have been a DQ. We got a DDT that won it, protecting the finish. Fairly short. I actually was a bit surprised that this didn't go a few minutes longer. But I guess they didn't want to necessarily build all that drama, since Ron Garvin was clearly going to get the shot, and they knew they were going to switch it to Jerry. But then we get Mr. R, a.k.a. Tommy Rich, under a mask. And quite frankly, at this point, with his reputation wrecking all the cars, and after the last battle in Atlanta, whatever it was, against Buzz Sawyer, and all the stuff that Tommy Rich had done, probably better to put him under a mask against the Spoiler. Just toss the wooden stairs into the ring for no goddamn reason. It's fine. Spoiler walking the ropes tremendously well. It's where The Undertaker got that from. Very, very nice. And we got clawing and trying to take off the mask. In fact, that's what a lot of this match was trying to, get the mask, remove the mask. The Spoiler, much more famous for wearing a mask. Maybe not as famous as a Destroyer. Actually, few as far as territorial wrestling would be as famous as the Destroyer, as far as masked wrestlers. But it's mostly a brawl. This did go a lot longer than it needed to, though. And I get it. It was supposed to be like a big deal. But it felt like they were spinning their wheels and just doing the same shit after, I'd say about 8 minutes. And it felt longer than it actually was. We did get a ref bump, a very sloppy ref bump. That long-haired blonde referee, assuming he is still alive, gives Rick Knox a run for his money. But, yeah, toss over the top rope because the referee was down. Ellering then got knocked down and kept bagging off and doing this stuff. And then a chair got involved. So Ellering's in the ring and being choked out, and the referee has come too. But the manager being in the ring isn't going to cause a DQ. But Spoiler coming with a chair and hitting him is causing a DQ. So again, referee, not very good. Why did Brad Armstrong have a vest with a cutoff thing with the Union Jack on the back? These are questions that need to be answered. Also, Ted DiBiase needs to answer questions about all the shit that he did in Mississippi. But well before that, he defended the National Heavyweight Championship against Jack Briscoe. Finally, something to sort of sink our teeth into, kinda, maybe, a little. Teddy was a great heel. Jack was near the end of his full-time career, his career, basically. I don't think he wrestled much. I don't think he wrestled at all after he left the WWF. I think he finally just went home and that was it. We did get some rest holds, a lot of rest holds. This show, actually all these Omni shows are probably 50% rest holds. And camel clutch variation, that was nice. Figure four, that woke the crowd up. And then a loaded punch that the referee, I believe it was the same blonde referee, clearly saw. If you didn't see it, then you're a fucking, cut your damn bangs, hippie. And that got a 3 count, so there we are. So Ted DiBiase maintains the national championship. And then the Road Warriors of Paul Ellering took on Pez Whatley and Sweet Brown Sugar, who I believe is Skip Young, if I recall correctly. And Bundy, Bundy wasn't in their corner, but Bundy was kind of scaring Ellering from getting involved. A quick start and then it slowed down, and look, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal were very much in the infancy of their career. Crowd loved the faces. We did get some wrestles. We did get a nice double headbutt that led to a close near fall before I believe Animal broke it up. And then over the top, and we got a DQ. At least I think we got a DQ from that. We just ended up getting a DQ and a schmoz, and we got Bundy involved and stuff like that. And I believe that would lead to Bundy and I believe Stan Hansen, if I remember right, against the Road Warriors. But yeah, this was just a standard show that had some decent moments. I mean, it's nice to revisit this stuff, but just throw in a few neat little nuggets. I mean, that's really it. It's just your standard house show in front of a very legendary venue, at least legendary for the South. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin, and until we revisit the now demolished Omni again, happy trails to you.